Thank you for listening to the BjjBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 218 of the BjjBrick Podcast. My name is Byron. I'm here with my buddy Gary. We have been described as the R2-D2 and C-3PO of the podcasting BJJ world. Gary, beep boop.
Yes, R2-D2.
Beep 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 boop.
Yes, R2-D2.
Okay. Yeah, Gary speaks many thousands of languages, I guess, right?
No, I just speak one. So when you beeped to me, I had no clue what was going on.
I'm barely even lingual over here, Gary, sometimes.
Yeah, well, I heard you were trilingual.
I try to be lingual. But we have an awesome show today.
We have Braulio Estima, and he is going to be on the show, and he is going to talk about Grappler's Escape. That's a week-long vacation where you're going to learn from Braulio, Keenan Cornelius, and you're just going to have a great time. And dates are April 29th to May 6th. Is that correct, Byron?
Yes, that is correct. We'll put a link to it there. And we also had Jazari Matuda on the podcast not that long ago, and she's also going to be on the cruise as well, teaching. It's basically a seminar full of jiu-jitsu. No,
and a vacation.
It's basically like a cruise full of jiu-jitsu, and so you get all the benefits of having, beach and beautiful environment that you're there on this Royal Caribbean ship. Amazing, world-class jiu-jitsu. So can't beat it.
That's what's so cool about jiu-jitsu. You don't see like somebody who likes to play basketball. There's a basketball cruise where
maybe there is. I don't know.
You train with Magic Johnson and Chris Paul and all those guys, but they doing stuff like this for the jiu-jitsu community. It's like it's awesome. Like even if your wife doesn't like jiu-jitsu, she's gonna love the cruise. She can just sit there and sunbathe and go swimming and do all the cruise stuff. Go check out all the places you visit. And you can train all day, and you got a happy life or happy wife, which in turn leads to a happy wife. So we have a link to it on the show notes. Check it out, and Braulio will be talking about it also in the interview. So Stay tuned.
Anymore, we're getting more and more women training jiu-jitsu, so you might have a husband that doesn't like to train. He can still come along on the cruise and have a good time. You could train and get better at jiu-jitsu and have a good time on and off the mat. So check out the link in the show notes to Grappler's Escape. Also, if this is something that you want to do, tell them that you heard about that from us, and it'll save you a couple $100. Just being referred by us.
$200 savings. You can't beat that. Thanks to everybody at Grappler's Escape for offering that discount to anybody listening to this show and mention it when they sign up.
Yep. You'll call Catherine. Her number is on the website there. It's really kind of cool that there's a number on the website. You call it, and a person answers the phone, and it's the person who's supposed to be on there. It's like back customer service, back the way it used to be, it's supposed to be. She's super friendly. And you can also hear her interview on the same episode Jazari was on. That would have been episode 214. So, so that's all coming up, and we talk a lot more stuff other than just the cruise during Braulio's interview. A lot of jiu-jitsu stuff. Obviously, if I get Braulio Estima on the podcast, I got a lot of questions. So that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. When you have somebody that caliber getting on the show, we want to talk about a little bit more than just a vacation. But we also want to promote the vacation since Catherine's doing, such a great job of offering that discount to all of our listeners. So thank you, Catherine.
Yeah. So the holiday time is near. I guess we're deep in holiday season.
We're deep in holiday season.
But I was thinking about our off the mat lessons that we like to drag onto the mat and learn something from them. And whether you celebrate Christmas or any other holiday in late December, remember that sometimes we forget why we celebrate these things. And whether you're celebrating Christmas but you're not really all that religious, or maybe you remember what it's all about, and the actual like gift giving and shopping is secondary or maybe not even happen. But a lot of times people get really excited about like the gift giving or the gift receiving, or making a really good list. I remember when I was a kid, I had like the best lists out there. go through a catalog. Remember those, Gary? We don't have catalogs anymore.
Those were great. I love those.
Sunday newspapers had a lot of ads in them. I barely get those anymore. Anyway, but gifts and receiving gifts as a kid and then figuring out which gifts to buy for people, as an adult, these are big deals. But remember, there's more to the holidays than just that little transaction or that act of giving or that act of receiving. Even if you're not religious, the act of gathering together as a family and friends and those things are really important. So to drag that onto the mat, we all get excited about getting a new gi or some new no-gi shorts, or the latest DVD that I just reviewed for you guys is out, and you're excited about it. You get that on the YouTube channel. We do have a channel on YouTube where I do review stuff like DVDs and latest gis and that sort of things as well. But it's all cool. But don't get overwhelmed with all that stuff. The big thing is that you're training, you're enjoying the process of training, and you're getting better. And anything else is just added to that is okay. But you don't want to skip jiu-jitsu because your new gi hasn't gotten in yet. Just go with your old gi.
But Byron, you won't look stylish.
Gary, I haven't looked stylish.
Would that make a difference?
We all can't be like Gary.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, Byron said he hasn't looked stylish, and he was talking about Christmas or holidays. It's about giving and receiving, and Byron's definitely good at receiving, even though he. There we go.
We'll let that one
stylish.
stay right there. But if you want to send us Christmas gifts, go ahead and get a hold of us, and we'll help you out in that process. BjjBrick@gmail.com. We are accepting Christmas gifts, chocolate gifts. Actually, we received.
Hey, speaking of that. I would like to thank Denise, one of our listeners from Germany, for giving us some chocolates. It was great. She, one of our teammates there, was over there giving a seminar, and Denise happened to attend and probably gave him 2 boxes of chocolates to give to us. But when it got to us, there was only 1 box left. But Byron and I opened that up at our open mat, and those chocolates were taken care of in probably 3 or 4 seconds. They were gone, but they were awesome. Thank you, Denise.
Yep, that is awesome. We remember that from last year, and they were delicious. Those German chocolates are amazing. And thank you, Adrian sent us a gift through PayPal. That was cool of him. Thank you very much, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian.
So, a lot of giving going on this season, and we definitely appreciate that. But remember,
and Byron today. While I was rolling with Byron today, he gave me an armbar for Christmas. So thank you,
give me
Byron.
too much credit, Carrie.
You know what a lot of people have been telling me they want for Christmas, Byron?
What is this, Carrie?
They were telling me they want Byron's audiobook, Your First Year of BJJ. Byron has recorded an audiobook, yours truly, Byron, here. And what he has done is try to help you through your first year of jiu-jitsu. And as we all know, that's a tough year. And Byron's goal is to help everybody out in this first year. And it's basically 2.5 hours of content, just like this show of Byron talking, guiding you through what to expect in your first year and try to make it easier for you. It's, like I said, 2.5 hour content. It's only $11.99. But Byron doesn't just have one audiobook. So if you pass your first year, you may want to get 6 games for BJJ. It is another audiobook there by Byron, and it's only $5.99. And basically, it's going to take your game to a different level. It's going to get you out of any valley that you've been in, change your game up a little bit and have some fun on the mat playing games, which is great not just for you, but also your teammates and your school. So definitely check out those 2 audiobooks. They do make great gifts for the Grappler.
Yeah, the 6 games for BJJ, I really made that really for the blue belt and up. I'm not saying white belts can't get a lot out of that, but that's really where I was focused on helping the people who have kind of found their way and helping them change or alter some things with what they're doing on the mat. But the first year is perfect for everybody who's new. And you know what, Gary, I'm feeling like a nice guy. Between now and Christmas, if you, for some reason, like to buy these books, thank you so much. It means a lot to us. It helps support the show. If you can't afford a book, send me an email, BjjBrick@gmail.com. And Merry Christmas, my friends.
Ho, ho, ho.
Gary, what is our quote this week?
We have an awesome quote from the one, the only, Theodore Roosevelt. And Byron, just so the listeners know, who is Theodore Roosevelt?
A president of the United States.
What number president, Byron?
Well, everybody knows that I have to Google things like that. Hold on. He was the 26th president of the U.S. He served from 1901 to 1909. And he passed away 1919. Obviously, if I know this much stuff, I'm looking at a Google screen.
He's definitely looking at his Google screen. But what Mr. Roosevelt said, or President Roosevelt, do what you can with what you have where you are.
That is an awesome quote.
Yeah. Yep. Do what you can with what you have where you are. And I guess you could go back to what Byron was talking about with the new, not having the new gi yet, and not training. You know, you don't have your new gi yet, but you can still train with your old gi right here in your hometown, in your own gym that you normally go to. You know, you don't have to have the great gi. You don't have to have any crazy mats or, you know, big time school. You can have, little mats in a community center. And you're doing what you can. You're training, you're getting better, and most importantly, you're having fun.
Yeah. That's most people don't train at the top of the food chain gyms, you know. There's maybe 1 or 2% of people are at those places. So odds are you may not be there. You might be at, like Gary and I, we've trained in a small town, and we train with our friends, and we train hard, and we get better basically every day. I hope we do. But we do what we can where we are right now, which is Wichita, Kansas, with the people that we have with us, who are some great athletes and things like that. But I guess we have a few world champions amongst the group. but it's important to just make the best of what you have. And if there's no reason to not go to class today, and let's say your instructor's gone. Let's say the person who usually teaches the backup class is also gone. It's still you could still have a great class if you could get somebody to show a couple of the cool things that they do very well, and that day you could learn some pretty good jiu-jitsu. It doesn't have to always be from a Braulio Estima teaching class, although those are great opportunities. So just make the most of any training time that you have, regardless of where you are, who you're with, and then the times you do get these awesome opportunities, jump on those and make the most of it. Yeah. Or seminar comes through town, make the most out of that. Really pay attention and try to take notes and learn some stuff. And if you get on this cruise, Grappler's Escape cruise, you should be taking notes. You should be filming a little bit of stuff in your room there. Get your buddy and say, okay, do this. This is what Keenan just showed us. This is what Braulio showed you. Jazari's choke goes like this, little details. That way you remember everything. Make the most out of it. Don't show up to train drunk or hungover. I guess you could, but you make the most of what you can with where you are, with who you got with you. I'm butchering the quote. With what you have. But
where you are. Yeah. It goes back to kind of like what I was talking about earlier on Grappler's Escape, about how basketball doesn't have these, cruises, or football. You know what is so cool about jiu-jitsu, you were talking about maybe the 2% of people who get to train with people like Braulio Estima, is if you're in a certain town where these guys train, the Lovatos, the Braulio Estimas, the Cyborgs, you can actually go to their gym, learn from this person, and train with this person. Like how cool is that? Like you can go and sign up for Tom DeBlas's gym and learn and train from him. It's like we're not going to learn basketball and play basketball with LeBron James. That's what I think is so cool about jiu-jitsu is, just for the average folk like me, I can train and grapple with world champions, which, I don't think in other sports you really, some sports you can, but, the majority of sports, I don't think you have that opportunity.
Yeah. As jiu-jitsu gets bigger and bigger, I think that there will always be an opportunity to train with these top athletes, but I think it'll be a little more difficult and it will be a little more costly. That's why, Grappler's Escape is not a free activity. It costs some money, but there's a ton of value in something like that. And that's just, that's reality. To spend time with these guys, learning from them, to get input from their jiu-jitsu minds and add that to your game. it could be huge. So that's a good quote, Gary.
Good quote. Thank you, Mr. Roosevelt. And I think it's about time to get on with Byron's interview with Braulio Estima.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
Every time he gets a submission, Subway gives away a free sub. He can get you a toe by 3 this afternoon with nail polish. He has lost more than 1 tooth teaching the kids class. His bucket list can be used as an actual bucket. It often holds ice, gauze, and vessel.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BjjBrick Podcast. Stay listening, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm really excited to bring Braulio Estima to the BjjBrick Podcast. Braulio, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Barry? I'm very happy to be here, excited. It's always good to share some of the experiences and some things what's come up in the future. I'm excited.
All right, I'm excited to have you on the show. One of the best grapplers, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists, no-gi practitioners on the planet. You've competed and beaten many of the best in the world, and it's been fun watching you as a fan, and I'm just excited to have you here today on the show.
Oh, thanks, Barry, my man. Thank you very much, and well done for the job and for the work that you guys are doing with the podcast. Is amazing. It's I heard a lot of good reviews out of this, so I'm really excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you. Excited to have you here. Could you maybe describe your style of game, the type of attacks you like to do? You have a very fun style to watch. If somebody hasn't, and they should go watch you on YouTube or wherever they watch people compete, but they should go watch. But just maybe describe some of your favorite techniques or your style of game that you like to play.
Well, I think in my journey, Mario, I have changed a lot in phases, in my style. I remember when I first started back in Recife, together with only 15 of us, all pretty much in white belts. I remember that I was one of the smallest in the group, and I used to play only on the ground, with my back on the ground. Sorry, and I played a guard a lot because that's where the position that I could actually handle people. And then I developed from there. I started making my bases, and then I started have to use different kind of attacks to don't be so predictable. So I always try to explore different ways of doing the same thing, and I think that's when it started my journey of in the exploring my jiu-jitsu tree, develop different branches and branches of the branches, And I remember I've always been into the submission aspect because it was what I was being taught, being very direct, don't go too fancy and stuff, Then I changed a little bit of my approach, and I started fighting more from the standing, from the top as well, especially when I got my brown belt, because I realized every time that I have to sweep someone, I had to end up on the top at some point. So I have to learn how to pass guards, and nowadays I really like to play on the top position. I think everyone, when kind of in a journey, they tend to end up being more on the top position, because when you have the experience, you can manipulate much better from the top, and you spend a little bit more energy when you play on the bottom, especially when you get someone much heavier than you. Therefore, my game plan always being I'm very strategical, always try to play the game that my opponent doesn't like to play. One of the things that I always tend to do nowadays in the last 5 years, 8 years in my career, I've been looking forward to not doing what I want all the time, but dealing with my opponent, because fight is between two people, right? So it's not all about what you want all the time. Sometimes people react and act accordingly to the situation. So one thing that I like to always see is that every time that a guy does a step forward in any scenario, he makes a move that I didn't catch the move, I always tend to don't let he do the second move. I don't fight for the move that is being already done. if you know what I mean. So I don't let him to carry on. So therefore, if he cannot do the second move, therefore he won't be able to do the third, and he have to retreat. That's when I take advantage and capitalize. So my game became more about don't letting my opponent start, you know. So I put him in an uncomfortable situation so I can make him frustrated. Therefore, I can impose my game accordingly to don't let him feel comfortable. And with that, I start to realize that, you know, the importance, the priority in jiu-jitsu, what should be, it should be to make my opponent uncomfortable. It's not submission, it's not the pass, it's not anything else like that. The first thing I need to do is I need to make my opponent uncomfortable. Once he's uncomfortable, he's thinking on getting comfortable, while I can see things from the outside, and you can start seeing things a little bit more in slow motion, blocking what he needs to do next. So that's how my style now it became. Always focus on the submission, but at the same time, I'm not letting my opponent start what he can do against me. Therefore, I always play on his weak side.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what you mean by making your opponent uncomfortable. You're not just talking about what we think of as just smashing somebody and making them uncomfortable in that manner. You're making them not where they want to be, not in their best part of their game. You're taking that away from them. Is that right?
Correct. Like when I say uncomfortable, it's not like hurting him or giving him pain. You know, it's in a way that he's not settling. He needs to do something more before do anything against me. He needs to readjust himself. You know, because the thing is, you know, like one of the most important thing in jiu-jitsu is you don't understand why you're doing things. It's not just copy someone, because everyone is different. Everyone walks different. Everyone speaks different. Everyone has different prints, have thumbprints. We all different, you know. So it's very important to understand why you're doing it. When you find someone that some technique that is very exotic or very, you know, fun or different or very effective, you need to understand, you need to try to ask yourself why that particular technique works. Because that answer will come down to the concept. And then you should always be based yourself on the concept, not on the technique. Because every time when you're fighting, you're constantly adjusting. And that's the key. That's the key point, you know, is understanding, because you got to adjust all the time. And then every time that I make my opponent in an uncomfortable situation, he has to readjust somehow to be able to do something against me. And therefore, I readjust to don't let him get there. So the fight is much more minimalistic than just a takedown, than just a pass guard or just a submission. A lot of little battles happening in the game, and that's what I like to play. I like to play those little battles to make my opponent uncomfortable so I can get what I wanted in, manipulate in the scenario, bring him to his bad side, you know, manipulate him to go to my main game, you know, like if he likes to pass the guard to the right, I'll make him go to the left so he feels frustrated, you know, so I can take something out of it and capitalize and get into my game, you know. That's what I like to do, you know.
Yeah, that's a great example of making them pass the other way, and everything feels backwards when you're trying to pass one way, or when you always pass one way and then suddenly you're trying to pass the other way. You have to think a lot more. You're slower. Your body doesn't move the same. Everything's that you do with the right hand, you're trying to do with your left hand. It really takes them out of their element. This style of play, though, trying to make somebody not play their game and take them out of that, that's a little... You could do that because you have such a deep understanding of jiu-jitsu as a whole.
Yeah, that's what I said. You know, like, for example, when I told, that's why I had phases, right? That's why I started the answer. I started saying, like, I have been through so many different phases on my journey, you know, up until I be able to see and understand why. To understand how I play now, and everything led to what I played this way. I think is a smarter way of fighting, because you can play against anyone at any time, and you don't need to be fit or fully trained to be able to deal with it, because you know why you're doing it. You're not trying to force things. You're not trying to force a technique. You know, I'm actually it becomes more smooth the way that you train, that you fight. But to be able to get there, you need to explore. You need to ask why the technique works so you can understand why, and therefore you take your own conclusions, because in the end of the day, when you're fighting, doesn't matter if it's Rickson Gracie, Royce Gracie, or Roger Gracie, or myself, Marcelo Garcia, anybody screaming to the student, it doesn't make them win, because it's only you and the opponent that's going to realize what's happening there on the invisible part. And you're going to have a split second to take the decision that is going to be left, right, up, or down. It's on the ball is on your hand. So if you don't know clearly, if you don't have the experience to understand why things work, when you get to that joint, you won't know where to go, and then you're going to get caught. I see a lot of the black belts, even though like champions in the black belts, I see them making like some very basic mistakes in that scenario, because they focus so much on the competition, repetition, and then just go for one kind of that one dimension, one direction game. But the way that I like to learn jiu-jitsu is go as deep as I can go, because I don't compare myself to the best guy in the world. I want to improve and learn as much as I can possibly can. So I like to explore. I like to study. I like to think and use my mind, my brain to figure out different ways of doing the same concept. And you can only do that when you learn and understand the blueprint. And that blueprint will come with time by asking questions why the technique works. Not asking by being intrigued or by challenging your instructor or your teammate. Why does it work? No. You ask yourself when you try to explore and you understand better, because you will need to know by yourself. Nobody will have to tell you all the time. You need to take your own decisions. So my tactic to improve like that was always having bases. First, as I said, I had the close guard. That was the thing that I could hold anybody in my guard, that I knew that he couldn't just surprise me. Before he does anything against me, he had to open up my guard. Then I have to spend a lot of specific training doing specific open guard attacks. Why? Because when they open the guard, I had to slow him down so he doesn't just go and pass my guard, And then I have to use a lot of different transitions, different base wire in the close guard, in the open guard. So okay, I have a strong De La Riva. So from here, I can attack A, B, C. So if I have a strong De La Riva, that I can always go back into it. I can attack A, B, and C without fear, because I know when thing goes wrong, I can always go back to my De La Riva and be secure, and he cannot just pass. Which De La Riva also is a very good transition and that complement each other with the lasso guard. Every time that you try to try to defend the De La Riva, you will always going to give the lasso guard, and vice versa. So you already have a transition of bases there that you can afford to play the game of faking, making the guy uncomfortable, trick him, making up traps. Because, Byron, it doesn't matter what you do first. We fighting against each other. There's a conflict of interest right there. It doesn't matter what you do first. You will be always countered, because the guy wants to beat you. He wants to do something against you that you don't want that to happen to you. So he always alert. Everything he does, you're going to say no. So I need to make tactics and movements to his no become a setup for my yes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about that. It's not something that really beginners can go out there and probably pull off. It's that deep game that you have when you're training with your training partners and you're having good matches, in the classroom and good training sessions. Do you play to their weak sides like that, or do you just grapple and play to their strengths? That way you get more competitive roles.
Look, when I train now I'm talking about nowadays, right? Because before, of course, I had to develop those bases that I didn't have. I used to hate to play on top. I used to be tapped like 5 times a roll from the side controls. I had all difficulties. I had always my ups and downs and a frustration that I couldn't take someone from my back and all that. Of course, you need to go through all this. In the best way that you need to do. You make your train. There is no bad training. If you get in the gym and you are the highest grade and only have white belts, you can still have a good train. Why don't you go there and make it like the opponent, for example, your training partner, and you put on your mind, I'm going to tap him from on his right arm. It doesn't matter what it is, either Kimuras, Americanas, or Armors. I'm going to try to tap him from his right arm. So after the second, third time, he will realize what you want. And then becomes a challenge because now you're going to have to make tactics and deceiving movements so he forget about the right arm so you can take it. So that's a good way, do specific situations, start already side control. Let's try to escape, try 1 time, 2 times, try to use as less power as possible. And then you start discovering and what's the weak part, what's your limitations and all that. That's what helped me on the process when I was a white belt, a blue belt, was always doing a lot of specific training and talk, ask yourself, ask your friend, why I cannot do this, why I can't do this. And this gives you knowledge. And this knowledge, you start ticking the boxes to understand jiu-jitsu within yourself. Because everyone is different. But you need to understand yourself within. That is the challenge. That's the journey that you need to look. It's not for the belts. It's not to beat someone. It's to understand what you're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to be looking for when you're fighting.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons that you have such an exciting style is because you're able to put people who are usually, the very best grapplers out there in a lot of trouble, and you put them in situations they're not used to being in. And as a fan, that always makes a very interesting match.
Yeah, I think when I talk like that, it can be a little too deep for the beginner. But I may as well just say, I'm gonna go there and do a lot of drills. I'll do a lot of drills, and that's what's the key to be the best. But really, I drilling for me, it's good up until a certain point that you already know how to do the technique. But in the reality, if you don't understand why that drill works, why the concept of that drill works, people will react completely different every time you train. Everyone that you fight is going to be reacting different. Every time when I go to a competition, see someone a blue belt or white belt or whatever, you have your technique in your mind, you have the understanding, but every time you're going to fight someone, they react completely different. Sometimes you end up a little bit to the left, to the right, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes works. So if you don't understand what you're supposed to be looking for when things goes wrong, you're going to start being a little bit more lucky than actually understanding why you're doing it with purpose. I think the earlier you start thinking and seeking for those answers, the earlier you start, the earlier you understand jiu-jitsu, the earlier you understand the blueprint, and you're going to take your own conclusions and learn and make your own techniques,
That's great advice from everybody, like world-class competitor to somebody who's just starting out. It's clear that you're constantly learning and you're constantly getting better.
I never stop, Byron. It's crazy. Every year on my end of the year gathering, I come up with some new ways of doing something, and I always kind of, it's like I do like the last seminar of the year. I come up with all the things that I've been developing of the year. So for the last 5 years already, because I was worried, like before, man, every year come up something different. Next year, for sure, I won't be. It's gonna run out. It's impossible. The last 5 years I already stopped being worried about, because I know the more I train, the more I ask myself questions, the more I share, which is a great thing to do, is sharing. Don't hold back. Share. It's going to make you a better fighter. Your academy is going to be better. It's going to be your benefit, And then every year I come up with something new. I'm developing new stuff now, and it's crazy. It's like so effective that is blowing my mind every year, and it never going to stop because the possibilities are so big, and this is only possible if you have this kind of a mindset of exploring and to try and control your ego, because sometimes you do something to experiment, it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you are bad or the guy, you know what I mean? Like, you need to make mistakes to be able to appreciate what works and what doesn't.
So far we've talked quite a bit about how you've gotten to be so good at jiu-jitsu, and then you've kind of just hinted a little bit about how you get a really good team, and I think one of those big things is sharing with your teammates and helping them get better. That helps you get better, and it works very well. What other advice do you have for people to help out their teammates?
Yes, I mean, like, I have a few things that is important. It's like, first of all, I believe that if you have commitments, if you want to achieve something, if you want to be good at something, you need to commit. You need to focus. You need to give your best. Jiu-jitsu is real. I keep saying that on my classes. Jiu-jitsu is real. It's a real thing. It doesn't gonna come just. It doesn't just gonna happen. It's real, so it takes time. It cannot just happen out of in 1 week. One thing that my dad always taught me. Never start running. Never try to run if you don't know how to walk first. So it's gonna be. It's slow, but it's gonna be for good. So you need to be patient and insist. It's not because something doesn't work today that's never gonna work. It's like playing drums. You start with some some beats, and then you start adding beats. I consider a good jiu-jitsu player with a good juggler. The more clubs he can handle while he's doing the circuit, the better juggler he is. And then that's the same in jiu-jitsu. The more situation that he can control, the more key points that he can control an opponent and doing the same thing that they already know, the better jiu-jitsu fighter he is. So this will come only with persistence, and a commitment, right? So if you want to be good, you need to come and train every day, not only because of you, because your training partner needs you to be there too. So he can improve, therefore he can push you. Those guys that gives you a hard time, you are the guys that you're gonna be thinking about all those hard times that's gonna come. You're gonna try to get back to them, and vice versa. The guys that you do well, don't be thinking that you're gonna be doing well all the time for every day in the week, because they go back home and they're also thinking about how can resolve that situation, because jiu-jitsu is a resolving problem game. You're always resolving things, and that's why it's so good for the brain, and for me it's like the best anti-stress that I can ever have. I come here, sometimes I'm down with my personal life stuff, and I come back smiling with a brotherhood, everyone cheering me up, and after hard lesson and exercising, and this is important to bring that, forget about it, let it go being selfish. It's about sharing, because when you share, you bring good energy to the club lighten up, and everyone wants to share back to you, and you keep taking information, and everyone gets better. This is very important.
You mentioned a minute or two ago that if you want to be good, you got to train every day, and I do believe if there's a certain amount of good that I could become at jiu-jitsu, and I can't train every day, so I'm not going to reach that point. But if I trained every day, I'd be better than I am right now, or in a month from now, if I just trained a couple of times a week. But there are a lot of people who can't train every day. What advice do you have for those students who want to become as good as they can? They understand that if they trained more, they'd probably be better. But life happens, work and family and things are going on. How could they get the most out of their mat time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about when I was talking about that part was mainly like train as much as you can.
Yeah.
The more you train, the more you're gonna have the mileage. Of course. But if you train, like, for example, that is so much that your brain can take. But don't forget that you also train in the mind too. It's not only physical. Sometimes, I have a time off. I spend like I go on holiday 2 weeks without training, come back, I'm training better than before I left on holiday, because your body needs also a break. So it's all about balance. You don't need to be training every day. I never train like 3 times a day in my life. A lot of people do. A lot of people train like 7 hours a day. I never ever trained 7 hours a day in my life. Kidding me? I'll die. My body wouldn't take it. But if I'm on the professional level, that then that's one way of fighting. But the one way of training, you need to be professional, right? You need to keep up the level of people that are being professional. But if you want to be as good as you can be, you need to just come and train, and then train smart, because that's what I'm saying. When you train smart, you can evolve much better, much faster than the average. You just need to be committed. When I say committed, is like, for example, if you come 3 times a week, come 3 times a week. Commit for those 3 times a week. If you can come 2 times a week, commit for 2 times a week, because your friends will know that you come those 2 times a week. So if you come 2 times a week and you don't go, and your friend is expecting you to come, and it breaks the rhythm. That's what I meant,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And I think also with that mental side, if you break that rhythm, it also hurts you. You mentioned that you could take a break off for about 2 weeks, and you come back and you are doing even better. Is that all physical, like you're just healing up, or is there some mental thing to where your brain kind of thinks about it differently while you're taking that break, you think?
Yes, I think sometimes, it shows the scenario that is not only about physical preparation. Sometimes we overload ourselves and we don't realize. Sometimes we are put too much effort on your body's tired, the body needs to recover, but you want to come and train because you think if you don't come and train, you're going to lose your friend, going to get better than you. It's not really like that. It's about consistency. Nothing too much. It's everything's the biggest challenge in our lives is find the balance on everything, right? Because you can never be too much on anything. Even if you drink water too much, you die, and which is a vital situation. Water is a vital substance on our life, but if you drink too much, you die. So everything is about finding the balance within yourself. That's what I said in the beginning. You need to find jiu-jitsu within yourself. If you can't train, if you have the time, if your body can give, and you actually feeling good, and you feeling that you are progressing, all training 3 times a day, if you can take it, do. The Meow brothers, they train. I think they wake up already training and go sleep training. They compete the toughest challenge, the toughest fight at tournaments, and then the next day they also training, because that's how they found themselves within. It's a personal journey, so you need to understand, listen to your body, and learn with the scenarios that you get in. For example, I learned myself that when I'm training too much and I'm training hard, I'm working and I'm teaching, I am like sorted out my business and all that. Sometimes can get too much on your life, and then sometimes you need a break. And then when I have a break, I come back and I didn't do no workout and nothing. When I come back, I train much better than I left, because I was completely overloaded, but not only physical but mentally as well. You need to find the balance, but this is very individual, by try and error. Everything that is real, we will only find the way by trying and find your own limit.
I think sometimes with the new students, that limit seems a little to show up a little sooner. So somebody who's new to jiu-jitsu, they train every other day and they're sore all the time, but really they might be, what they're doing on the mat might be hard on their body. But you look at some of the more advanced students, they can train more often every day, and they don't get beat up quite so bad, or they're maybe training a little bit smarter. They don't maybe not rolling as hard. And I don't know. I think it's like you said, listen to your body and then react from that. Not everybody can train every day. Some people can. Some people could train multiple times a day and still be getting better. If I trained multiple times a day, I wouldn't be able to hold up that sort of a physical demand I'd put on my body.
Yes, of course. Nobody can. I mean, we have so many different levels. I think we are here from Gracie Barra. We believe on the jiu-jitsu for everyone. So we have all different kind of levels of that we're training here. We have here like people that's 60 years old, people that's like 5 years old. We have all levels that come here and train. People come here to be a competitor. We have world champions, European champions, and we also have family that come and train together in a good environment. I think you can take anything you want out of jiu-jitsu if you train right, with the right pace. Nothing comes fast. So, for example, let's say you don't have enough time to train. You're not like an athlete, but and you want to be able to train with an advanced guy, and then you find it difficult, and you want to be able to train with those advanced guys or improve as good as them. You need to take advantage of your time and use the most of it. It's important to understand, to learn the techniques that we go to learn from the professors and all that. But also, I'm a strong believer of a specific training. Always talk a little bit after the class. I don't know, academies are different, right? But I've always have a space that people can come in and have a little bit chat after the classes. Exchange, and I'll encourage very highly all my grade students to share to the newer ones. One, first, to create the bond between the team. Second, so he can learn how they do the things that he already know. Because the more you teach what you do, the more you understand why you do. Therefore, you understand more jiu-jitsu. And the young guys, the people that are learning will take the information, see as much as what they can see, because everyone, what I find very hard to see, that I don't like, is like you come to the academy, you come, shake hands, learn, and copy the techniques, and they'll do the roll, and they'll head to head, and then go back home without no exchange of communication. Man, like, without communication, you're going to be much slow on your process. You need to communicate. You need to ask questions. You need to get intrigued. You need to get frustrated. Frustration is an important aspect for your development in the art, because when you're frustrated, that means that you try to figure out something that you can't, but your brain is constantly trying to scan and trying to process that answer, and then therefore you get the eureka moment in the short term, if you know what I mean. So, but if you don't get frustrated, that means that you don't care, But if you don't communicate, you don't want to find answers.
Great coaches don't just teach technique really well. You're talking about like controlling the environment of the room that everybody's in, and the interactions between them, having good interactions between some of the mid-level belts, the upper belts, and the other students there. That's how you're building a really good team. I think it's not just that you're showing these really amazing details and that sort of thing. You're also helping the interaction between the students be positive and encouraging, and you're supporting everybody who's on the mat, whether they're 5 or 65 or whatever. You're helping people get better at jiu-jitsu, and you're using the whole team to do that. That's more work than even you could do by yourself. A whole team of people doing the work for you. That's awesome.
Exactly, because we strong believe, from our team, our master, Carlos Gracie Jr. He strong believe that if everyone in the world who did jiu-jitsu, the world would be a much better place to be, to live. So that's what we like to try to pass it on, But what I think, sometimes when you think only about yourself, it's like a trap, because you're gonna get stuck on your own little world. Once you start sharing, you can see, like, even outside of the jiu-jitsu in the world, the more you share, the more information is out there, the better everyone gets, because it pushes everyone to go, and everyone starts learning more and more and more. Like, I'm very big fan of don't hold back, share everything you know, because it's gonna make you also better by seeing people dealing with it. Because if you came up with that answer, and you tell someone, listen, what I like to do, and he will come to a counter answer, then you have answer. You're gonna have the answer of the answer of the answer of the answer, and that's a never ending. And in the end of the day, we'll be always come down to left, right, up, down. The fakes. Like in boxing is.
Yeah, and I like your attitude of if the whole world did jiu-jitsu, it would be a better place, and it really would help people out. But there are people all over the world that do jiu-jitsu who are meeting in April to meet with you and to train on the cruise ship there. Tell us a little bit about the cruise that's going on.
Oh man, this is like I'm so excited about it because I never been a cruise myself. It's one of my dreams to be in a cruise. And look, I had a dream before even I started doing jiu-jitsu. I was wanted to go in a cruise in the Caribbean. Guess what? 21 years later, we're gonna be going in the Caribbean, in a cruise, with a bunch of guys that we have from all over the world. People that has the same kind of mentality in the same direction, sharing through jiu-jitsu. We're going to be speaking through jiu-jitsu, getting a great environment, train, share, talk, exchange knowledge, having fun, inside the mats and outside the mats. It's going to be amazing. I really literally cannot wait, You cannot get much better than that, can it?
Yeah, and world-class jiu-jitsu taught by you, JZD Matuda, and Keenan Cornelius. You get about a week of you hanging out on the cruise ship, learning jiu-jitsu, going to Haiti, Jamaica, Cozumel, seeing all these really cool places. Like you were saying, dreaming about going to the Caribbean. There's a reason why you were dreaming that, because it is beautiful and those just an amazing experience, both vacation and jiu-jitsu.
But I never expected I was going to go doing what I do the most, what I love to do the most, which is with jiu-jitsu. It's gonna be like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I would say the cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. Kina is an amazing fighter. He's also a very good jiu-jitsu developer. He come up with a lot of new things. Jason Matuda, top girl in the world there, many times world champion, is amazing teacher. She's also very fun. Keena is also fun. He's a funny guy. I think we're gonna have a great bond together. And everyone that's gonna be part of it is gonna be the ones gonna be taking the most of it. Because we're gonna be there with a lot of passion. Willing to share everything we know. We're gonna be training against each other. You guys are gonna be seeing, finals of world championships every day in the mats.
Yeah, a lot of people right now are thinking, wow, I would like to go on a cruise, and this cruise would be probably the best one I could find in the whole world. But if somebody was going to go to the cruise here and train with you guys for that week, what would you recommend that they were able to do to try to absorb as much as they possibly can?
Well, first thing you need to come with open mind. I take one thing that's very important, that one metaphor that I compare to is a fashion show. When you go to a fashion show, you go there and you see the new trends, what's coming, what's the stylists are showing, and to inspire them to come back and they can make their own way of things. And that's what we're going to be doing there. We're going to be showing, I personally going to be going there showing what is the new trends, what things that will be working on, what my main things, my competition tactics, how I think, how I develop things, and I'm going to be there also to learn from Kena, from Geiza. It's going to be fun, and learn from the people that's going to be there too with these questions, and we're going to have like question and answer. I think it's like, come with the open mind, try to see, search for things that is missing on your game. Come with questions. We're going to have Q&As. Come with the idea of having fun with no pressure. That's not a competition. We're there to everyone to benefit each other, to everyone to learn. So it's gonna be amazing. Like when you bring jiu-jitsu is a different martial arts. It's a different sport that brings such a a big bond between ourselves, because I believe that actually, Barry, you know why jiu-jitsu is so different and so special? Because imagine on our instinct reactions, we fighting, we train against each other. You put someone else in a choke, and your subconscious know that if you wanted to just end that, you could. But when the guy they tap you, you let it go. He goes, man, look, the bond that creates, and vice versa. The guy could hurt your arm, but as soon as you tap, he lets go. You go, man, this guy could break my arm, but he doesn't. This is the subconscious talking, and that's why it creates that such a big energy that makes a different kind of bond. And that's what you're going to have. You're going to be like 3 people from different academies. You're going to be going there. We're going to be in such an amazing bond. Try to make it as fun as possible for the guys. Share it with everything. Try to give our examples of our experiences, our journey that can speed up their development by themselves. And on, it's like endless. A lot of fun. That's the cruise. It's huge. It's like a big city, floating city around the Caribbean with the best postcards just outside of your window. It's like, man, I literally, especially now that's getting cold over here in England, I cannot wait.
Yeah, it'll be nice and warm, and the food is also amazing.
Yo, I'm hungry now.
Yeah, that's I've been on a couple cruises myself, and that's the thing is, so much amazing food, such beautiful sights. Never done jiu-jitsu on a cruise yet, so that would be amazing as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
Absolutely. Do you have any sponsors? Do you want to mention anybody?
I would like to say, of course, always in first hand, I'd like to say thanks very much for my great team that I have. Gracie Barra, gave me everything that I have today. The Carlos Gracie Jr. that gave me the opportunity to live off jiu-jitsu and be able to share to others and be able to inspire others and make others be able to kind of follow the same journey that I had, that I believe that changed my life for the better. I would like to say thanks for Storm Kimonos that it's been supporting us for a long time, and my website, of course, the Estima in Action. If you guys want to know a little bit more what I do and the way that I think, the way that I show my techniques, the way that I train, the way that I fight, how I you can see the concept that I can put in practice in a real training against black belts and white belts, world champions and average guys. And you can see how it changed according to the weights. By understanding the concept, you can go to estimainaction.com, I mentioned to you, Byron, about that I've been trying to do this keto diet.
Yeah.
And I've been finding really hard to cope with the food, diet, because I really like to eat a lot. But I've been trying a lot, and then I've been experimenting the ketos sachets, the ketones, and a keto OS. It's been helping a lot. I like that, and it makes me much with much more clarity on my mind, and I feel much better, in a better mood, and even when it's late in the evening, sometimes when I've been training since the afternoon, I'm still up there, focused and in a good mood, and it reflects around a lot on my teams, and it makes everyone in a good mood as well, So it's been good, and especially for my keeping my weight, keeping my shape. Always, I don't need to be training weights as hard as I used to keep my weight. So I'm very excited with this keto. We're going to be exploring more and more.
That's interesting. The ketones, and that's able to help you get into that state. Braulio, do you have a favorite social media that people should follow you on?
Yes, my favorite social media that I use the most is the Instagram, which is @Braulio Estima. You're gonna see a lot of fun things, a lot of inspirational stuff, and a lot about things jiu-jitsu. My things that I do, my trips. I work with the ACB which is one of the biggest tournaments that is professional tournament in the world. I work as a commentator, and I help them to realize shows in Brazil and in Europe. The next one is going to be on the 9th of December in Moscow. Big fights, amazing fight. It's going to be like 2 Grand Prix over there, so I'm really excited to see that. you guys should check it out. acbjj.com.
Cool. And yeah, go follow you on Instagram. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to go on the cruise, maybe you could show up on his Instagram page. If not, just follow him and watch as he has the experience of a lifetime on the cruise ship there.
I can't wait, guys. So if you guys, I'm going to be posting very soon some of the videos about the how we should expect to happen over there in the cruise, and you have a look, and I'm sure you guys will, with a blink of an eye, you're going to book that time in April so we can go hang out together inside the mats, outside the mats, and have a good time in the cruise in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of jiu-jitsu, but it's not just jiu-jitsu. You'll be out there having fun as well.
Jiu-jitsu and fun-jitsu.
Yes. Braulio, I had a great time talking with you today. Do you have any final thoughts you would like to leave with the audience?
Well, I would just like to say thank you very much, Byron, for the opportunity to share some thoughts. I'd like to say it's been awesome being here on your podcast. Jiu-jitsu is my life. Is sometimes I think when I talk too deep, a lot of people might think, oh man, how can I even think this way or whatever. When I started jiu-jitsu, I didn't have this understanding. I just had this understanding when I started exploring myself within and asking myself questions. So go there, train. Most and foremost, go there to have fun, to have a good time without pressure. Don't think about belt. Go enjoy and try to get as good as you can possibly get. You don't compare yourself to no one. It's your it's individual journey that matters. Get yourself better. Just think that every day you wake up, you're waking up better than yesterday, and that's the journey.
Awesome. That's great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Omar. I'll see you soon, my man.
Thanks to Braulio for giving us his time, sharing some jiu-jitsu knowledge, and talking about the cruise. Also, there's I forgot to ask you about it. I feel like I really missed out, but there's a wave machine on the cruise that I guess you could surf on.
Sweet.
And he's pretty good at surfing, so I guess he's going to hold a little surfing competition. So you got to go. You know what? Your chances probably be better to beat him in a surfing competition than on the mats. But either way, you can get beat by Braulio a couple different times.
Yeah.
But really thankful that he was able to hop on the show with us today and talk with us about jiu-jitsu and the cruise and everything else. Well, Gary, this week we have an article that is not necessarily from the jiu-jitsu world.
But when you look at the website called Wet Feet, anytime I see feet in a website, I personally think of, I'm going to start attacking that foot.
Oh.
So when I did see your link.
Not where I thought you were going to go with that.
Yeah, no, I saw Wet Feet, and I just see feet, and it's like, hey, I'm ready to attack that heel. I'm ready to, attack the toes. I'm ready to go. So I thought it was a jiu-jitsu website.
Perfect.
So, yeah. So you could disguise as a jiu-jitsu website with that.
Yeah. I know that some people are really into feet. I'll stop right there. We'll leave Gary's side hobbies and interests right there. But this article is on wetfeet.com, and I think it's referring to just getting out there and doing, getting your feet wet type of a thing. I don't know.
Well, if you do get your feet wet, make sure you dry it off, because you could get athlete's foot.
Yeah, you gotta keep those toes dry. The article is called "How to Play Up Sports on Your Resume."
When you showed me, or when you sent me the link for this and said we're going to be talking about it, I thought it was a great article. It's something that, I've never really thought about or even read about before, seen an article about it. And, a lot of us listening, have played sports in college or you're do a ton of jiu-jitsu and, you're a big-time jiu-jitsu competitor. And, you may be younger and you're looking to grab that first job right out of college, and how to play up sports on your resume is this is great tips for people in that situation.
And the article talks about a lot of stuff, but you have to realize that not everybody who's going to be interviewing you or looking at your resume cares at all about sports. They might think that sports is stupid and it is not is not helpful at all. Or they might recognize that people who are athletic tend to be healthier, tend to work harder. Like being athletic also helps stimulate your mind and give you energy. And they might recognize that there are benefits to athletes. But then again, you have to make that conversion from I'm not just an athlete, I do jiu-jitsu or whatever you're doing. If you do put that on a resume, just be aware that it might not be seen by everybody equally. I mean, you get an old wrestling coach who's trying to hire somebody, and you walk in there and describe jiu-jitsu as, well, a lot of people who used to wrestle, when they become adults, wrestling's kind of a hard thing to do as an adult. A lot of them go to jiu-jitsu, and it's like wrestling, except for we're not trying to pin each other. We're trying to use submissions and get the other person to tap out. And just describe it like that real quick. And this guy might look at you like, oh, that's pretty cool. And have kind of that brotherhood bond that they have at wrestling with somebody who doesn't even do wrestling, jiu-jitsu. But so it kind of determines a little bit, or kind of matters a little bit on who's looking at your resume or who's interviewing you with how this might be received. But this is a thing that could be valid to talk about during the interview process or even to put on your resume. What do you think, Gary?
I agree with that. There are going to be people who won't like sports at all. And I guess, if you're going to talk about sports, kind of see where the interview's going. And, I think today the interviews aren't all just professional. I think there is some, banter back and forth. If I'm looking at a resume and I see you went to, let's say, I know they mentioned Syracuse University in here, I'll start talking about the Orange and, ask, start talking to you about the Orange basketball team or whatever. And, so if you do, see that, I think if the conversation's going down that way, nothing wrong with talking about sports. If you walk in and you see your interviewer has cauliflower ears and you're a jiu-jitsu guy or a wrestler, I mean, hey, you probably got the job. That's good. But, that made me think of the opposite. I wonder, somebody with very cauliflowered ears, I wonder if the person interviewing you will take that as, boy, what's wrong with that guy's ears?
Yeah, and I don't think that they would hire you or not hire you based on your ears, but I mean, that's just the way you look. I don't think that's a big deal. But there are a lot of angles you could take with this. Especially if your resume is a little bit light. If you're just getting out of college or high school and you're having a hard time putting a couple of jobs on there that look like they're going to be related to this one, I think that's a little bit easier to throw. Trained jiu-jitsu for 3 years, competed all over the country, or however you want to put it, received the rank of blue belt in 2 years. That doesn't really tell the person a lot because they probably don't know what that means. But if your resume is a little thin, it shows that you're being busy. You're not home playing video games. You're part of a team. If you're helping to teach classes, you might take it from trained jiu-jitsu to helps coach and develop jiu-jitsu athletes. And that's a whole different thing because people who are coaching are teaching. And a lot of jobs have partially the job of training in them. And it's much easier to train people if you have experience with that. And on-the-mat experience with training and teaching jiu-jitsu is definitely relevant to training and teaching anything. It's patience. It's seeing it from their point of view, understanding where they're at in the development process. Gary's not going to show me how he finishes the Kimura because I can't even set the Kimura up very well. He's got to teach me the setup first this week, and after that, he'll show me a little detail of how to maintain and get there. He shows me the details on the finish. I won't use those for 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, you could maybe just use the position as you've helped teach this, and as a pretty good positive.
Yeah, just thinking about as jiu-jitsu players like we all are, what are some of the traits that we get out of jiu-jitsu that would really help us in the business world or job world? And I think of kind of like what you're saying there, patience. Patience teaching somebody, patience, when you're in a bad position, attention to detail. Byron's talking about a Kimura. There's so much to it. We really have to have attention to detail. We, teaching and learning, we have to, you miss one simple step, you're done. And, it's the same thing in the work world. Like Byron was saying, your dedication, you're you're going to school, you're getting good grades, you're coming home, you're probably working on the side, you're also doing jiu-jitsu. That's great time management. It's showing that, hey, I can juggle all three of these tasks, and still do very well at everything I'm doing. Just when you're out there on the jiu-jitsu mat in a tournament, you're out there by yourself, you're out in the spotlight, you learn to, focus and handle stress really well, which is going to help you, in real life. Jiu-jitsu is not an individual sport. It's a team sport. You only get good due to your team, or get better due to your teammates. You're helping your teammates. Your teammates are helping you. You're all there for each other. You learn how to work with different personalities. Not everybody's like you. You learn to work in the team atmosphere. And, I just think there's so many traits that we learn training jiu-jitsu that is going to help any business or organization thrive. It's just sit back and think about what all we do on the mat and what all we do in jiu-jitsu and how that can help that company.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things. If you've done jiu-jitsu, all through school and your
mental toughness,
and you stick with things, and that's a lot of times this day and age, it's hard to find somebody who's done anything for more than a few months. They try things and they quit or whatever. And bosses and people interviewing know that. So, if you've got 8 years of jiu-jitsu starting in junior high, like, you're not somebody who just quits things when they get hard. And that could be something you can explain about yourself that could be noticed by somebody who doesn't train. So the whole thing is, with jiu-jitsu, you're talking to somebody who doesn't know what jiu-jitsu is, most likely, unless you're interviewing where Gary works, and he's going to talk to you, and you'll click immediately.
Oh, you're hired.
But you have to communicate what it is appropriately, and not talk about actual jiu-jitsu so much as more as what it's done for you. I think is a big part of it. And as somebody who's interviewing somebody, they might be a little nervous that, okay, is this person going to be asking for time off all the time? What's going to be happening? And you know what? If you're applying for a new job and this is a big deal, and there's a tournament in a month, and they want you to work, you're probably going to miss that tournament. But guess what? More tournaments come up later on. I mean, no one tournament is the end of your jiu-jitsu and is the best thing ever. You got to work if you're in that position, and if you're in that place in life, and work is a pretty big deal, Gary. Because if you don't have income, it's hard to go train.
You can't train. Yeah, it's hard to train. But, I just think this is a great article. I think that, with your dedication that you've shown to this sport and all the traits you've picked up from this sport, you are an asset to any company, that you could work for. And, we just need to know how to express that. And, I think this article is great and definitely helps. And one other thing it really didn't mention, but I think is really big for, us, looking for a job, trying to get a job is, man, network with your teammates. I mean, you look at Byron, he got on the fire department due to some people we worked with, who were, higher level people in the fire department who trained with us. And, when Byron was younger, they were, older individuals, and they're like, man, this is a great guy. He shows up every week. He's a hard worker. He treats me with respect and courtesy. I'm going to put I'm going to go to our human resource department, say, hey, this guy's going to apply. I back this guy. I think he's great, so, so definitely you work with you train with a diverse bunch of individuals in your gym. And even if, let's say you're trying to become an engineer, maybe nobody you work with is an engineer, but maybe, their wife is the HR person at the company you're trying to work with, so definitely let your teammates know when you're looking for a job. They may be able to help you also, and, or point you in the right direction and say, hey, this is a guy I know, send you to his brother who works at the company. This is a guy I train with. He will be a great asset to your company. Here's his resume. Can you please make sure you get it in the right hands? So definitely use every, opportunity you have and, cash in on it and hope everything works out for the best.
Yeah. Using that, I'm glad you said that, Gary. Using your network that you have, usually people have like the current workplace and their family as their network and maybe old buddies. jiu-jitsu has a really cool network because there's people from all walks of life are coming together. And what Gary said is a lot true. Like, we were training, and I was training with these guys that were on the fire department, and I was like, they got a cool job. So I started looking into it. It's like, how do I get hired? And the hiring process, they'll interview like 130 people and hire 10. And that's pretty intimidating. But what they were able to do for me is they got me connections. I ended up talking with the chief of training, and he did like a little mini interview, and he told me, well, expect this on the job, for the interview, expect these type of questions. And he didn't like feed me answers, but he really helped coach me to get me in a position to where I'd be more likely to get hired. And I'm sure they all put a little, hey, this guy should be good, type of a word in for me. But in reality, I think that meeting with somebody else before the interview, and he really like, you got to get more fired up. I walked in and I was like talking to him about how important it was for me, whatever. He's like, I wasn't selling myself. He told me, you got to get in. No one else is going to talk about you except for you, and you get like 15 minutes and that's it. So if you don't go in there excited and really sell yourself, they're going to put you next to the pile and they'll go to the next person. They're not going to, you got to sell. And so like that little meeting was worth its weight in gold for me. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't know these guys, if they didn't hook me up with that connection. And that's a big deal. I'm glad you mentioned that, Gary, because I kind of forgot. Yeah. Let's real quick, because Gary,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
I want to go back on that too. And Byron talked about those guys help Byron out. There is a guy we train with who's trying to get on the fire department, and I know Byron's kind of taken that guy under the wing and talked to him about it also. So Byron, was the benefactor of people helping him out, and Byron's just going right down the line again. And the reason this guy had told me he was looking at getting on the fire department, so I introduced him to Byron. He didn't know Byron directly, and just every little. Like Byron said, it's a diverse group, your training partners. And I have so much respect for everybody I train with because of the guts and the hard work and the mental toughness it takes. I'm going to refer people I work with or that I train with to people I work with and to people that I know that work at other companies because I know they're tough individuals who will thrive in a challenging environment.
There you go. Yeah. And if it was fire related, if you want to get in the fire department where you are, I'm part of your network. I can't really tell you what's going on there, but I'm happy to talk with anybody who's a listener to the show for 10 to 15 minutes about a career in the fire service. People have done it to me and before, and I have done that, and we'll do that again and again. So your network is different than you think, and there's a lot to that. Gary, I wanted to get you real quick because you actually interview people sometimes, and you hire somebody to the team. Let's say, Gary, you're fresh out of college, you don't have a lot of work experience, but you've been training jiu-jitsu for a couple of years, and the interview comes up, and they look through and say, okay, you're doing all right in your interview process, but they say, do you do anything as a side hobby? Tell us a little bit about yourself. How would you bring up grappling, and what would you say about it?
Well, I think it would be great to bring up grappling with me, because I would be all over that. But
like
I think
when you got in the back.
Yeah. Literally.
Okay, let's do this, Gary. I'll just ask you the interview question. You ready for this?
Okay.
On the spot. This could be instead of your audiobook because this is on the spot too.
Okay.
Well, Gary, I've learned a lot from you about your resume, and you sound like a good candidate. Just real quick, so I don't forget about you, do you do anything else that isn't work-related that you like to talk about?
Well, I'm really into fitness. I like to, try to keep in shape, eat well, exercise, and, I really like to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'm not sure if you're totally familiar with what that is, but it's a martial art that, focuses on, grappling. It's something I really like to do.
There you go. That was perfect. And if you sparked an interest, they'll ask about it. And if not, he's some dude that works out and probably does karate.
But I made it like I'm into fitness, and it is fitness anyhow. But I'm trying to spark their curiosity to see if they'll ask me about it. But I don't want to go into saying, hey, I'm breaking arms and choking people unconscious, and I don't really want to throw that out there. But boy, if that person likes jiu-jitsu or whatever, boy, you just sparked a great conversation, and you're going to end that interview, on a strong note. And I will tell you this, I was interviewing somebody And I had one of my coworkers interviewing too, who she really knows I'm into jiu-jitsu and everything. And we were talking to a young individual who was trying to come to work. Well, he actually worked for us, but he was trying to get promoted. And so we're interviewing him, and I'm sitting in this interview, and we're both talking to this person, and I basically asked him a question like that. What do you do for fun, and what I think I actually asked him, did you play sports in high school, or what did you do in high school? And he basically said, he was on the wrestling team. And at that point, the lady that was with me interviewing for her position, and she just started smiling, and she knew that I was going to like that guy, and I started smiling, and we just kind of chuckled to ourselves at that point. And then, when it was done, she goes to me, she's like, "Well, he's hired, isn't he?" And he did come work for us. I mean, it wasn't 100% because of that. He was very skilled.
Yeah.
But to somebody who does train jiu-jitsu, and this guy wrestled, I know what type of individual wrestler is. I can tell you, my manager directly underneath me, a guy that I got hired from training with him. He was a wrestler and did a little bit of jiu-jitsu, and then I hired him as one of my managers. He is a wrestler, and I love the grit, the no quit, the determinedness, or if that's even a word, but that person has. It's just like jiu-jitsu players. I mean, it's just like basketball players. I like athletes. I like to hire athletes. Let's put it that way. But like you said earlier, not everybody's that way, so you kind of got to piece it together. But if I'm interviewing you, definitely bring up about your athletic ability.
Yeah, and if your resume is a little thin, you could put on there trained martial arts for 3 years, also helped coach or teach. Like, boom, that's something. It's better than having a blank space. And if it crosses the right person's page, it might really pique their interest. It's basically a resume is just a way to advertise yourself.
Yep. I remember when Byron was just out of school, he was looking for a job. And this was before he trained. He wanted to train jiu-jitsu, but he went to a ninjutsu school.
Classic.
Ninja school.
Here we go, Kerry.
And what he did is he showed up for the interview. And this was actually pretty good, and this is how Byron got out that he was training ninjutsu. So the lady asked, the lady that's interviewing asked Byron, it's like, "Hey, did you bring your resume?" Right there, Byron threw one of his smoke bombs down. So a big puff of smoke came up, and Byron didn't have it with him. But while that smoke was up and she was disoriented, he found his resume and handed it to her. So he actually showed what he learned in ninjutsu, and the rest is history. He didn't get hired, and he made it to the fire department.
There we go. Got to do something. But we'll put a link to the article on the show notes. We clearly did not cover all of this article, but it's on wetfeet.com.
I think we probably talked a lot about the article.
We did.
But I think that was a cool article, and I think this might help a lot of people too that do train jiu-jitsu and when they're looking for a job.
Yeah.
I think you picked a good article, Byron.
Well, thanks,
I applaud
Gary.
you.
Yeah.
Yep,
if you want to send
job.
us an article, BjjBrick@gmail.com, and we'll consider it for the article of the week.
Hey, speaking of articles, we are running a contest for the article or blog of the year and also the coach of the year. Last year we had a coach of the year. This year we're doing 2, so it's 2 times the fun. What you need to do as one of our listeners is, send us an email, BjjBrick@gmail.com. Tell us about your favorite blog. Maybe it's the Wet Feet blog. Maybe it's, who knows, whatever blog you use. Let us know. Let us know about your coach. And basically, the more you put into these essays or letters you send us, the better chance you have of your coach winning or your blog. You can even put in your own blog if you want. And basically tell us why your coach, deserves. And we're not necessarily going to pick the guy who won the Pan Ams or, who's a world champion. We're looking for, the guy who, influences you or helps you through hard times or who knows what. We're looking for the blog that, has really helped your game. And Byron and I kind of talked about one that I, last week that, has really helped me. There's something out there that has helped you, and let us know about it. Send us an email at BjjBrick@gmail.com and tell us about it.
Yep, we definitely need those submissions in. Write it up the best you can. Describe the impact that it has. And we'll be doing this early in the year, hopefully.
I like how you said we definitely need those submissions. No pun intended. I think that was a good play on jiu-jitsu right there, Byron.
Well, thanks, Gary. Gary, good news, my friend.
What's the good news?
We have a new Patreon supporter. It's our friend Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
So basically what happened with Keith is he found the podcast. He really enjoyed it. I sent a couple of emails back and forth to Keith. And he wants us to keep doing what we're doing, and he wants to help out with that. So he's pledging $1 per episode. And we would like it if you did that too. If you're getting that kind of fun and enjoyment out of the show, you're learning something, go to Patreon. We have a link to it in the show notes or on the website, wherever you're looking at the show notes. And you can pledge a certain amount per episode, and we will deliver our absolute best each and every week. People like Keith help keeping this show going strong.
Yep, we appreciate it, Keith. Check out our link to Patreon, and if you do have means, we'd appreciate the support.
Yep. Keith is getting a gi patch, 5-inch BjjBrick gi patch, a sticker, and I haven't got him into the BjjBrick Facebook group yet, the privately secret, super secret, ultra closed, only for the select few, like Keith. He's not in there because I haven't found him on Facebook, because there's a few guys named Keith that share the same last name. But I'll be happy. Keith, send me an email. Tell me where your Facebook is. Send me a link, and I'll get you added in there as quick as can.
Yep. And Byron also told me before the show started that he was actually going to send Keith a glossy 3x5 photo of Byron himself. So Keith will really like that.
Oh, that would be funny, man. We should get I could slip it into the envelope. I'm sending a gi patch and a sticker anyway. We should make glossies and autograph them, and kind of what was that movie? Step Brothers. He's got a weird, odd photograph of himself, kind of an 80s style. We should do that, Gary. I just mailed it out with it, just as a joke, but pretty serious also.
I don't think anybody would listen to us, and I don't think we'd have any Patreon supporters after that, Byron.
Well, it would be... There are problems with this, but I'll consider this. This could be very funny.
Or very weird.
It would be absolutely weird.
Because we talked about earlier. Think about this, Byron. If you were the receiver of that, and like we talked about earlier, you were very good at receiving, you probably would be like, what did I get myself into?
That's true.
Also, make sure you tell all your friends about the BjjBrick podcast, and also BjjBrick on social media. We talked a little bit earlier about Byron's DVD reviews on the BjjBrick YouTube page. So check out BjjBrick on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're all over the place, basically. And speaking of not being all over the place, we are in Wichita, Kansas, the middle of the Midwest. If you happen to be coming through Wichita, Kansas, send us an email, bjjbrick@gmail.com. Hit us up with a message on our Facebook page, and we'd like to try to train with you. So, perfect.
Yep. And, you can come to us. Sometimes we travel. Sometime in January, I will be in the Orlando area. So if you're from there, hit me up with an email or a Facebook message, and we might be able to get some training going on. I don't know what my schedule will be like when I'm there, but hit me up if it's at all interesting to you and you live anywhere near that area. We'll see if we can make it happen. Yeah, be cool.
Be cool, my friends.
And stay sweaty.
And don't forget to shower.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 218 of the BjjBrick Podcast. My name is Byron. I'm here with my buddy Gary. We have been described as a CP3O, C3... I screwed that up. What's his name?
R2D2 and C3PO.
Let me retry that. Although the fail will probably go into the end there. Okay.